I have to say we've had some very dark times in this. Welcome, Damien. Very dark times in this battle for freedom, but within these dark times, some lights are standing up, and these two boys have been shining very brightly, and we are incredibly honoured to have you on, even though you're miles away from the screen. I can't see you with mild eyes, but there's and so here we are. I'm just going to get the names right. So we got it here, 2 secs. So we got Bradley Marshall on the left, and we got Paul Kasper. And guys, I just want to applaud you before we start for your courage and your talent and the way that you've spread so much hope to so many people in such a short time. I think you have to be commended. Young heroes.
And likewise.
Yeah, thank you so much for having us on the show. It's amazing.
I think if any music producers out there, hopefully you record the song properly, and as Damien said just before the show, if you can get some of the sounds of the crowd and the trucks in the back, I think the song could be a huge hit. And so I wish you the luck with it. I really do. Now, can we actually say, before we started, you said that it was the trucks were in the key?
Yeah, I was saying that. Because when we write songs, we're both songwriters, so we choose keys that sort of fit the voice. So we end up choosing 2 different keys, how many keys would work. So we ended up refining it down to either B minor or C minor. So I'm always pushing it has to be in C minor. And then Paul's always like, nah, it sounds better in B minor, which it does for his voice. But anyway, when we're performing it live, we do it in B minor because it's easier to sing in B minor. It also sounds better live anyway, because it's not a full band, it's just the keys. But anyway, when we played it in B minor.
So why are you pushing C minor then?
I'm pushing C minor because I just feel like it has more energy. I've got a whole theory on, it's pretty complicated. It's not that complicated, but it takes a while to sort of talk about it. It's just I have a theory that, when babies cry, their mothers are tuned to a certain frequency that you hear it more. So there's a dopamine key area from say C to C, so C3 to C4 that really hits. And if you're inside that key range, it'll just sound really good. And
wow.
So for me, B minor is just on the cusp of that. It's in there, but it's just on the cusp, and it's dark. Whereas C is brighter.
So when you're listening to babies cry, everyone else is going, "Can someone please get that bottle?" And you're thinking, "That's C minor."
I listen to babies cry.
He's pitching it.
Where's your mum?
I'm gonna think that. Okay, I'm just gonna bring in. I've got Travis in the background. Travis, I'll see you there. I'll bring you in a sec. There's okay, so that's it. Well, what are you going to record it when you do the proper recording? Which way do you think you're going to go, C or B?
I'm fighting for C. Sorry, for B.
Yeah, and I'm fighting for C. But what we're going to do is we've actually already recorded the whole thing in C because it was originally written in C. It was written in C, and then Paul
is that the one on YouTube?
No, that's in B. Because the live version, when you're recording in a studio, you can just say cut or whatever and then do it again. And there's no demand to sing the whole thing from start to finish, right? It's just like maybe movie to plays. You don't have to pace yourself the whole way through. So with C, and you're doing it in a studio, you have that stamina behind you. You can stop and start. But with a live performance, you just got to keep on going right through. So it's easier if you put it one semitone down.
Yeah. Well, for me, it's more. I feel that there's more body in my voice in B. I can hit the note in C, and that's where I wrote it. But yeah, looking back, I just feel like there's a little bit more body, and a song like this needs a little bit more depth, in my opinion.
But thank God we performed it in B, because that clip you saw before, when we played it in B, it's actually perfectly in tune with all the trucks passing in the background. So just as we hit the chorus, like such a good coincidence.
So what is the track? What is the track?
I've ever wondered what key trucks are in. It's B.
Yeah, really low B, sub bass.
They're in B. Okay.
The chorus comes in, so it's like the subwoofer hit, and that's why you get that dopamine. Like, oh, that feels good.
Yeah, so it was a good match for that custom Dan Andrews van. I'm sure everyone's seen driving down Spring Street.
Now, how do you know the funny thing with that truck, the Dan Andrews truck, Reignite Democracy? They first hired a truck to do it, but it cost them a fortune. Then they went out and they bought a truck and they basically fixed it up, put the sign on themselves, and they're looking for volunteers to drive it around the city. And I believe you don't have to be vaccinated to actually drive the truck. So I was actually going to put my hand up and say, I'll drive it around. We could drive it to Bendigo. There's
voluntary, mate. You're not going to get paid. That's
there's welcome to the movement. There's a how long did the song take to write? And did you really write it together? Like someone come up with the lyrics and then
So I wrote the bulk of it in my bedroom. So I wrote the lyrics. And I wrote the main structure of the song. But then I went to Brad and I said, I got this idea, but it's not quite finished yet. Do you want to see if you can, sprinkle some of your musical genius on it? And he did. He changed a few sections a little bit, and he made it sound fantastic. So, yeah.
Because
that's what I do for Michael. I do exactly the same thing for Michael.
Yeah, we just came back from like
it comes to me all the time.
We just came back from like swimming in the ocean. It's freezing at the moment, but we like to do some cold dips because apparently it's good for your immune system, especially if we're not, following the standard safety protocols or whatever. But we just came back from that. We got back to Paul's house, and then Paul got his guitar out and says, "What do you think of this song?" Started playing it. I said, "That's pretty good." A week later, he shows me like his finished demo of the song. I was like, that's really good. But he asked me questions like, do you think the pre-chorus there's too much gaps there or something? Or do you think you could do something with the chorus? I said, you know what? I reckon what you're doing, this could work, say, or this could work. You could shorten it. So I just sort of took it from him then, and then sort of just reworked it in a way that was more concise and more interesting. Because there's all these like, I don't know, I've got these like little hook line rules, like you want to get to the chorus within a minute, otherwise people lose interest still. And I'm sure that's the same with script writing. Like you want to have certain, like, I don't know, maybe there's if you're a third of the way through the script or something, you want to have the first problem arise. Or,
well, they say music is mathematics anyway, don't they? That's I have heard that. Can I ask though, now you before you performed at the Shrine, at the Steps, you actually had a lot of gigs booked that you've lost them all because you won't get
it's very interesting because Paul has been very public with everything he's doing. But for me, I've been quite, I've been protesting, but I haven't been showing it online. So in the meantime, like, I don't know, I've just been, I had a lot of gigs booked because I wasn't sure what to do. Like I wasn't sure whether I wanted to get vaccinated or not. And so I'm just like sort of postponing it until the extreme last minute. And I'm just thinking like, okay, I got a week now to decide the gig's like in the next week. And I'm looking these people in the face saying, yeah, I can still do it. And I'm just like, oh. So then I hit this wall and I just figured, screw it all. Just go to Parliament and completely take a new pathway. So,
and did you two talk about not getting vaccinated? Is it between yourselves, or did you just come to him and go, I'm not? Did you come to Paul and say, I'm not doing it?
Well, that's the thing. I actually said to Paul, I'm not choosing to vaccinate. So what happens? Like I said to Paul, like, look, if you want to find a new pianist and you still want to perform, that's completely fine. I won't have any hard feelings because I just don't want to.
Yeah.
Paul felt exactly.
And what did you say to that, Paul?
Well, I said, look, that's where we're lucky in some sense that we both have similar views. Definitely. So I was in the same boat as Brad. I had a job as an apprentice barber as well. And I was on the fence too, you know. My boss was who felt who had a lot of the same views as I did, and we were trying to help each other and figure out ways to get out of it through exemptions or whatnot. And yeah, he said to me, "Well, what are you going to do? Like at the end of the day, we've kind of lost this battle." And I said, it's hard to explain, but I got this song, I got these lyrics, and that would sound ridiculous to anybody. But I said, I can't explain it, but I just got to hold off for a little bit more. I gave myself, I wrote myself a hierarchy of values, I guess, and I sat down and really tried to mull over what to do. And I came to the conclusion that I have to give myself, a little bit of time for me to make the decision, and not be forced into it. And I think I made the right one. I think, these lyrics especially came to me in a time of despair, and it proved to be the right choice, definitely.
Can you talk more about the list, about the list of values?
Yeah, so I basically sat and wrote down what I value in life, and I can't remember exactly, but on the top of that list was integrity, and yeah, so I felt that also means to be whole, and yeah, I didn't. If at the end of the day, and honesty, if you can't be honest with yourself, you can't expect anybody to be honest with you, kind of thing. So that's the road I took. I think the main value for me was integrity.
Have you noticed when you're down at Parliament, when you watch everybody, that you can't pick the people who would have the integrity to take on the entire state? You know what I mean? Because if you notice it, there's little old ladies, there's people from other countries that can't speak English that well, and there's a whole gamut of people who go, I just don't want to do it right now. Or they've got a choice. There's this integrity in them. We're brought up where it's basically people who look like Arnold Schwarzenegger. These are the tough guys, but those guys aren't there. There's no bodybuilders walking around that I've seen. It's just people going and coming together on the steps of the Parliament at the moment to just be with other like-minded people.
I heard a beautiful quote years ago, and it is kind of religious, I guess, but it was said, God uses the weaker people to show how powerful he is. And that was really profound for me. Yeah, wow. So I'm only a little guy. I'm only 5'5".
I'm the same, buddy. Wait till you meet me. I haven't met you at the thing the other day. Yeah, I like the little ones. The tall ones, like this guy here, they get annoying.
Damien, you and me in the same boat.
A lot more like Arnold Schwarzenegger. I don't know how you let me go on that. Yeah. Hey, boys. I think some of the best songs you're ever going to write, though, and some of the best songs in history have been protest songs. I mean, any song is a protest song to some, a protest about some aspect of life, and what could be more of a protest than fighting what we're fighting against now. Do you find that?
Yeah, I saw one comment on YouTube saying, this is terrible times, and I think the most beautiful of art sometimes can be created from the most terrible of things. So it was just a really touching comment. But really, this song kind of just happened organically. Like, we started with Paul, and then when I was sort of changing things up in it, also like in the bridge section when he talks about and if I die, I'll die with pride. I really wanted to match those lyrics with something really profound in the chords. So like, if you for all the musicians out there, like listening to the song in that section, like I'm using diminished chords. I'm using the most destructive, most convoluted, dark chords that you can find. It's like journeying through the soul and in the shadow and back. I don't know, but I really wanted to do justice to his lyrics there in that section, So
it makes it easier to find meaning, doesn't it? Like, we've been given purpose and meaning in many respects by what the circumstances that we find ourselves in. Do you guys have a name for your band?
We're tossing it up at the moment. I would like to find a name, but it's
Would
honestly
you disclose anything?
it's the hardest thing.
Yeah.
We're years that
Can
I've
we
been
do something then? Why don't we get some suggestions in the comments? If anyone's got any
Yeah,
ideas for the boys, so we could chuck up a few suggestions, give you something to spark off. So if there's any suggestions, what these boys should be called as a collective, as a group, that'd be great. Just chuck them in the comments. We'll see if we get some good
the other
ideas.
great thing,
Is there something you're thinking about anyway?
We were kind of thinking of just going with my last name, like kind of a Bon Jovi situation, but I'll definitely prefer to have a good name. But I've been playing in bands since I was 13.
Yeah.
And I've not found a name. I've never found a good name that I've said with 100% certainty, yep, I love that. I've never had that. It's one of the hardest things. It's crazy.
But Bradley, how do you feel about going with Paul's last name? Are you on board for that? Or
It's his idea.
do you think maybe?
No, I think so.
Oh, okay.
I like the ring to it.
Selfless and everything.
Break them up yet. They just got together.
Yeah, I think
Or was it Xavier's idea? Maybe it was Xavier's idea. Maybe I lied.
Maybe your mum's idea.
Yeah, it all depends on like the what we're going for. I think Paul has such a rock star voice. So yeah, like I grew up doing like I admiring like Elton John and Billy Joel and Lionel Richie. So I do a lot of like piano bar sort of things. Like before the pandemic, you could find me in Jono's Piano Bar or like all these piano bars around Melbourne. So my taste in music is similar to Paul's. Like we do have an overlap, but Paul is very like what I picture of him is like Bon Jovi, Steve Perry, like all of those 80s rock gods. And it's great. That's why like this song is like our overlap, because I'm very like pop 80s, where he's like the rock god 80s. So it's like this, you can really hear an overlap there. But yeah, so if he chooses Kasper as a name, yeah, I kind of don't mind
there about David and Goliath.
Yeah.
It's here that that's what resonated with me, because that's actually what we've been. Because those that are trying to get us to conform, they own the media, the mainstream media, all the institutions. I mean, we've just basically had the entire upper echelon just looking down and going, just do what we tell you to do. And so to stand up against that, and because we've been separated in our rooms, and like even you two didn't really talk about your vaccination status, it really has been a Dave and Goliath situation of people being alone. That's why I notice at the marches, one of the most beautiful things is people come up. Damien was saying it the other night, and they talk to us and they start crying because they felt so alone, but they've still held on to their integrity. And then suddenly they're with like-minded people and they realize they're not alone at all. Yeah,
I think like even if you just look back in history, what we have now, democratic societies are actually fairly new and they're uncommon. It's actually, especially being in Australia, we've kind of become complacent and we think democracy is just the standard, but it's not the case. I mean, it only occurred once before in ancient history, in ancient Athens. It wasn't all of Greece. It was only Athens for around 250 years. And freedom in general is something that keeps having to be fought for. And that's in my opinion, what people don't understand. Like it's actually not as common as we think. A free society isn't the default society. It's very uncommon throughout history.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's why
even a feudal system couldn't have rolled out this. Sorry, Mark. No, I was just saying, even a feudal system, like people talk about democracy being this wonderful thing, but even a feudal system couldn't have rolled out this program. I mean, if you're living on an estate somewhere, was King Henry VIII really that much of a threat to you? This thing has its tendrils in absolutely everything, because there's something about modern communication where you can just reach everybody. It can control and dominate everybody. I'd be quite happy to have a sort of slightly despotic, benevolent king at the moment than what's being rolled out in all the democratic countries at this particular point in time.
Yeah.
Well, honestly, because his caprice would rest sometimes, surely, in a pure dictatorship, which this is sort of like totalitarianism, and it's
no, not so sure.
It's
I
a lot,
think it's a test. Sorry, guys. So what were we going to say?
No, I was going to say, but as I said, democracy is something that continuously has to be fought for as well. So,
Yeah, I think so.
it can be corrupted just as any other system, but it's our responsibility, I think, as the people to maintain a strong democracy.
And I think that's what happened this weekend. I mean, the marches are getting bigger, but this weekend was basically us like going, okay, we've raised an army now. You want it to get bigger? We're not handing over our freedom without a fight. And I think even the police were very, I didn't see any aggression from the police. So I think the police are very much on our side. So I think the tide has really, really turned. And they've thrown everything at us, the mass media, fear porn, everything. Mm-hmm. And a lot of the people in the crowd now are people who have been vaccinated. So even those have said they still prefer freedom than what's coming, you know. That's how I see it.
It'd be interesting to see what plays out tomorrow with Daniel Andrews. It would be interesting to see what plays out, because there's no sort of like the Herald Sun, which is allegedly the right-wing paper, and it wasn't on the front page. 450,000 people in the streets of Melbourne did not make the front page.
Yeah, I find it really weird.
That tells us something about the times we're living in the fight.
Yeah. I think it's really weird. I mean, we had the counter protest.
Sorry, what were you going to say, Paul?
Yeah, and apparently only 20 people showed up to the counter protest.
Apparently, but there's this weird notion out there that to even be a little bit right wing, and again, there's extremists on both ends. But for whatever reason, we believe this society is starting to indoctrinate that even to be a little bit right wing is just suddenly evil. You know what I mean? And it's not the case. There's conspiracy. There's extremes on both sides. And it's become terrible. I think people can't even have their own political opinion anymore.
It's not just political, though. A lot of people see this as a spiritual war going on. And I was walking through the march. Did you guys go through the march to get to the steps, or did you just turn?
No, we were there well in advance. We were really early.
Oh, actually, yeah, I've got this. Look, you must have been tired here. Look, there you are.
Oh no, I wasn't tired. What I was doing was meditating.
I'm
quite spiritual myself, so like I wasn't always spiritual. My dad's actually like an atheist, so I grew up atheist until I had like a near-death experience, and then after that, and actually before that, even when I'm an actor as well. Like I did a lot of community theatre, nothing professional. Actually, one show professional, but mostly amateur. But through that near-death experience, I really it really cemented my spirituality. I was questioning before, but after that, I became quite spiritual. So just leading into before the performance, like, as everything was surreal, looking at, like, they said 500,000 people in the audience. So looking out at a wave of people, like, you couldn't even see any grass. Like, it's just heads of people. So I wasn't nervous. Like, I wasn't like overwhelmed by it, but I just wanted to close my eyes and just remind myself of where I was, and that this could be, the pivoting moment in both of our careers.
I think if I realized where I was, I would have passed out. I was so detached. It felt like a dream.
It's great that someone took a photo.
I did a speech and then the violinist stayed after me a few marches ago. That was the first time that happened. And Markian was meant to be touring Europe as a solo violinist. He's incredibly revered. And he's lost all his gigs because he's standing up for what he believes is right.
Beautiful violinist. Yeah,
they don't want to touch him, So he, when he first did the Australian anthem, like it had a broken heart, I said, make it sound like a broken heart. It went around the world, and it showed the power of music to bring people together. Here was a song, the national anthem, which rarely makes anybody cry. I mean, most of us don't even know the second verse because the first verse is so boring. And that here he was, just it being shared like crazy and people in tears. So it really shows the power of the music and the power of art, which is in this. And you guys are now replicating it, and you're doing it with a new song, which that's the most exciting thing,
Thank you.
Especially if it could become like one of the.
Well, you're saying it's a dream, like it's.
So
What do you mean about
dream
the dream?
within the
Sorry?
nightmare? Well, you were saying it was
Yeah,
a dream. It was like a dream. We're about to perform there, but it's like the dream within the nightmare.
Yeah. So yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
You're referring to like the dream, like as in the song has dream sections, and it's like the dream section within the nightmare.
I thought Paul was saying a dream that he would be, within the greater nightmare that we're sitting in. Like the dream was he had 500,000 people. That's what I felt like Paul was saying.
Yeah.
No,
But that's
I felt
dream
it.
within the greater nightmare, which is the reason why the 500,000 people are there in the first place.
Yeah. You know what it felt like? It actually felt like the iron.
That's a great question, isn't it? Yeah, I just want to.
Like it felt like the eye inside the storm.
Yeah, the storm. Yeah, exactly.
Like this was how life was before, right? Like when we saw all the energy surrounding us, like I said to myself, I remember feeling this maybe 5 years ago when we went to like I'm a sort of a tennis fan, so when I went to Rod Laver Arena, like when people do the Mexican wave, like this is the energy that we used to have, and now we've just been subjugated to like 2 years of despondency and despair. So we've just forgotten about that, but like. So it was just like we're in a hurricane, and then suddenly we're in the middle of the hurricane. Like, wow, it's such calm. This is how it used to be. And then now I don't feel like we're back in it. I still feel the energy from last Saturday.
So do I. So do I. I've got hope. And the other thing too is the one thing I've noticed, because I was brought up a Catholic, and then you become a lapsed Catholic where you move away from the church. And what I'm seeing now is how accepted the church is, and not that many priests are there, but people are openly letting people know their religious beliefs or whatever it is. They're in the march. They're saying the Hail Mary in the march on a loudspeaker. People are holding up Bible quotes as protests, along with all the other things that have from the atheists who are also fighting totalitarianism. It's everyone coming together. And about 4 or 5 years ago, people would be making fun of the religious people, going, "What are you doing?" But now it's not. Now it's everyone coming together. I think it's really something beautiful, and a real spirit of Australia. Did you feel that? Like this is. If anyone thought the Australian spirit was crushed, well, we just showed you 50,000 people. It's not the case.
Yeah, it makes you it makes you wonder, like as well. Like I'm not sure how true this is, but it makes you wonder, like after people are vaccinated, like do they change in their psychology? Like I don't, it could be completely wrong, but some people I've talked to, like they start to notice like they become more maybe animalistic, or they become more easily aggravated, or maybe it's nothing chemical. Maybe it's simply the fact that they didn't want to take it in the first place, and they feel like they've sold their soul in a sense because they're not standing up for themselves. It's like they lost part of themselves, and so they're always angry now. I don't know. Sometimes
there was a lot of vaccinated people there. They came up and told me, and they said I'm vaccinated, and that's what I loved about it, was the fact that I think that they went there. It was nothing to do with the vaccination. It was to do with segregation and apartheid. And where we're going. So and I think that's how we have to heal. To me, it's like pro-choice. You took it, whatever. That's cool. But it's actually coming together now, because like our Australian anthem, the reason we don't sing it is it says we are one and we are free. And at the moment, we're not. You guys are not vaccinated. You are no longer free. You're no longer free to go to cafes. You're no longer free to go to recording studios. That our freedoms have been taken away. We're not free. So to sing that song now is a lie. And we're not one. At the moment, there's people segregating you, going, there's an upper class Australian and there's a second tier class Australian. We're in the second tier. And that's wrong and detrimental to the culture. On Tuesday, we have 4 South Africans coming on who don't know each other, who are going to talk about the dangers of apartheid. And they're both from the oppressors and the oppressed side, and how everyone suffers from it. And so that's what I'm really interested in as we move forward, is saying we can't have this. We have to be the one people who are tolerant and kind and decent, Yeah.
And I think one of the reasons why.
Bradley, could I ask you something?
Sorry. Yeah, sure. Yeah, go.
No, go. You go, Paul. You're talking, and then I'll ask Bradley a question after you.
Okay, no worries. No, I was just going to say that I think one of the reasons why we're getting so many more numbers now is because we're actually allowed to see each other. And it's great, cafe locked out. It's a forum where people can actually speak. If we again, it's that feeling of being alone. But if we were actually allowed to see each other through lockdown, I think the outcome would have been very different, because you don't speak to each other and you feel like you're the only one. But once you start talking, and it's like, hold on, most of these people feel exactly the same way I do. And that's why I think we're getting the numbers now. And also, obviously, because they're coming for young kids. So that's the next reason to fight.
And the other interesting thing too is a lot of people, I've heard a lot of people my age go, oh, the young aren't doing anything, that just, and that's why I think bullshit. You know what I mean? I go to these marches, I see lots of young people standing up. So I don't think those who are it's got nothing to do with age or anything. It's just some people have the courage to stand up, and they do. Speaking of young people, here's another one. Now, this man, he actually was. I saw him being taken away in an ambulance. I thought, oh my God, what's happened? And then a moment later, he's back. And now he's been an organizer and been at all the marches. He's very good on the mic for firing people up. And we're going to bring him in now, because last time he was on, he had a few issues. But we're going to bring him in now just to add to the story. And this is another young man who fights all the time and inspires people. G'day, Mr. Travis.
Travis,
what's wrong? You sick? You got your top on?
Hey, boys. Yes, I've got my top on.
Cold there now, is it?
Yeah, I had my top on, and then I was like, oh, it's getting a bit chilly.
Are you down at the steps tonight?
I am here, yeah.
Might just see if I can do the thing. Now, when did you meet these boys?
Paulie and all that?
Yeah.
Yeah, I met them, what was it? It was about the start of this week or something, maybe last week. Yeah, no, they, Paulie came up to me and said, oh, his mum actually came up to me and said, look, I got my son here, and he's a really good singer. He's got a speaker system and all that. Yeah, can we get him on the steps going and all that? I'm like, 100%, yeah, I'll have a chat with him. And then we had a bit of issues with the generator and all that, and we finally, Paulie did an amazing job and got a generator for us all, and got his speaker system. And then I heard his voice for the first time. I'm like, wow. Oh, yeah. He had me speechless. It was a beautiful voice.
Thank you.
What was it like, boys, when you first did it? Because is that where you first released, basically let people know? I know you did it on YouTube. What was it like doing it live on the steps? I mean, it's not a piano bar. It's quite a...
Yeah. Well, I did it on my own the first day because Brad couldn't make it down, so he sent me a backing track. I've never had my hands tingle before out of nervousness, but that was the first time. It was... Yeah, and especially after I made my speech as well. But, yeah, once I got past that initial day, it was just nothing after that. I feel like even going on through my life, I don't think I fear anything anymore. So, yeah.
And how about you, Bradley? How about you when you came down? Because I was seeing you getting really into it. What was that like?
Well, performing is always... beautiful experience for me. Like even though I'm at Parliament, it doesn't matter. As soon as you play chords, I'm always happy. But the thing is, for me, just recently, I put out on my social media what I'm doing. So until about Saturday, it literally took Saturday's protest, the 500,000, for me to say, okay, the time has come. If I don't announce what I'm doing online, then it's going to seem inauthentic that I'm protesting here, but don't have the courage to even admit it on social media. So the time came, I just did it on Saturday, and now I'm getting a mix of responses. So I instantly, because we haven't been able to talk to everyone, I just assume that most people will think that I'm like insane for not taking the vax. Like it's reasonable at this point to take at least one, right? It's just like you're half dosed. Therefore you're reasonable. But if you don't take any, then you're just completely insane. Yeah. So that's my thinking, right? That's Bradley, everyone. Yeah. Yep. Go. Sorry.
No, I just wanted to pick up on something because you were talking before, and I want to talk the thing about the whole understanding of the spiritual experience, because that's a lot of stuff's been talking about. Michael was talking about it before. Suddenly, you can make a quote from the Bible, and no one mocks you. They actually listen to it and go, "Oh my God, there's something in that," or whatever. You know, it's really interesting. accepting the spiritual nature of this situation we find ourselves in, spiritual war people have talked about. You said you had a near-death experience. I'd like, if you could you tell us something about that and what spiritual understanding that led you to?
Yeah, so it was actually earlier this year. I was celebrating my dad's 60th birthday, and that night, like we were driving just away from office works, and then a car hit us at 80 kilometers per hour, and the car just spun 360 degrees. It was the most surreal experience of my life before the protests last Saturday. So those two experiences were like equally profound in different ways. One's euphoric, one's traumatic, but yeah, it was insane. Like,
were you injured?
I wasn't injured. That's the thing. Like my dad, who was driving, had he just had an injury because the seatbelt worked. Because we went from 80 to 0, but the thing is the seatbelt locked him in place, so it broke his sternum.
Okay.
But yeah, it was absolutely surreal. Like the phone's in the midair, cars turning 360 degrees. And what's really interesting is like my sister's like full spiritual. Like Paul can, I don't know, he's met her and it's like, oh yeah, she's just a bit too far. But like I don't know, like I'm talking bad about my sister. I think she's an angel. And I'm
is she a Christian or what?
No, she's
too far?
Very spiritual in the sense like she loves astrology. I'm still not sure on astrology. But it's not too far. It's just like it's just a step further than what I believe. But basically, she said to me that time doesn't exist. Like it's just like a concept that, like, you know, it's just constructed like clocks are here so that we get into a rhythm of 9 to 5, and we don't really think as much. But if Prince is an artist who said, "I'm not counting my age anymore because I think time doesn't exist," and so they say, "How old are you?" Like, I don't count. I don't count my age. This time doesn't exist. But if you start thinking like that, anyway, the reason why I'm talking about this is because when I was in the accident, I actually flashed back to a time when I was 8 years old, and my dad said to me, if I'm driving and I have a heart attack when I'm driving, what are you going to do, son? And then I said, I don't know. So what you do is, because my foot's going to be on the accelerator, what you need to do is you need to pull the handbrake up, and that will save your life, and put it in neutral. So that's the first thing my brain clicked into when I was driving, because the thing is, my dad was unconscious and I thought he was dead straight away. And so when the car was spinning, his foot was actually rammed on the accelerator and he was still driving. And like, we already had the first impact, but we were about to hit the second car. And I was like, okay, if I don't do something, like my dad's already dead, I'm going to be dead now. So yeah, I heard my dad's voice when I was 8, and I said, okay, I need to put it in neutral, and then I need to put it handbrake up. So because I did that, I survived.
Wow.
And yeah, so my sister is basically saying to me, maybe what happened was Dad went back in time to when you were 8. And like, I know it sounds insane, but that's what she was saying. Time isn't real.
We got a dictator in here who wants
Don't be ashamed.
Yeah, so it was like,
nothing sounds insane at the moment.
Yeah, so he was saying like, imagine the moment he went unconscious, like he like separated from this time and went back to when I was 8 years old and implanted the memory to put the handbrake up so that it would save my life 16 years later.
Yeah,
so
amazing.
Yeah,
I'm just going to bring Travis back in.
And so what's your spiritual understanding then too? Like what's sorry, I just want to keep going with Bradley just for a second. Like, so could you talk a bit about what your spiritual understanding then is?
I'm still like piecing it together. Like leading to the protests, like my sister keeps on telling me about angel numbers. Like I don't know if you guys, even in the comment section, are aware of angel numbers, but that's where you see on the phone, like the number 111 or 222 333. And my dad always says, don't get too involved in that because that's insane stuff. Like that's just synchronous. Like that's just I forget the name they call it, but basically if I say to you, you're going to see 47 in the next few weeks, then you probably see it because you associate. You just start. You expect to see 47, so you end up seeing it. But I don't know. Like probably sounding completely crazy. No wonder he doesn't take the vax. But like I don't know. Like I started seeing a lot of numbers.
Well, if you don't believe in time, it's an easy way not to take the vax because you can just say you're 12 all the time and you don't have to take it anyway. So that's what I'm going for. I'm going to be using that.
Identify as a 12-year-old.
You know, Brad said, you know, he says he sounds crazy, but, you know, some beliefs that people hold are their entire life. They would die for their beliefs, especially their spiritual beliefs. And I feel like this government has just trivialized everything that they believe, and that's so wrong.
Absolutely.
No matter how wacky or ridiculous they might think those beliefs are, at the end of the day, you have an experience like that, and they just completely disregard it. It's not a one size fits all situation.
Yeah,
Yeah.
No, that's absolutely right. I mean,
You know what I find,
segregation,
Paul, that
bullying,
we have been
coercion.
Sorry.
And I find that we've sold ourselves short. It's fine to say the government's just done it, but we've done it to ourselves. We've sold ourselves short of spiritualism. We have nothing to fall back on because as a culture, we've sold it out for materialism. We've sold it out for material wealth. And we've let it go as if it was something that our ancestors needed, and we've moved beyond it. Sorry, what were we going to say?
Yeah, well, Charlie Chaplin made a speech that I actually played at Parliament from the great dictator, where he basically spoke about how far we've come technologically, and that was in 1940. So you can imagine now. But the quote that strikes me is we think too much and feel too little, and that's what it's become. I've always, well, for the longest time, kind of been agnostic. I think you could never know, but yeah, I think it's kind of silly to just disregard it altogether, in my opinion. But yeah, I think not everything can be answered with science, and now science has kind of been turned to as this new religion. It's not even called so; it's called the science now. They've kind of put a "the" in front of it. It's made it something else entirely. It's meant to be subjective, but it's like, all right, what is the science? This particular science hasn't been peer reviewed. We've got a one size fits all approach. That completely needs to change. It doesn't answer everything. It gives you information, but what do you do with that? What do you do with certain information? You got these ones and zeros here in front of you, but it's not going to answer the greater question.
Yeah, I had a lot of problems with that. Like I did my first degree. Like I'm doing a music degree now, which I can't continue because I'm not vaccinated. But like my first degree was actually like in science, and I agree exactly with that. Like I had a problem learning about things and saying, how do I know this is real? So what I ended up studying was mathematics, because every time you learn something, you can literally prove it on the page. So I don't know. I just had a huge problem with like say if you're learning about say things in medicine, like I don't know, like the thing is, if you start talking about this thing, it quickly descends down the rabbit hole into conspiracy theory, and that's why.
Don't you also think you're also talking about intuition and faith? I mean, faith is one of the big words at the moment. I might actually bring Travis in now because I've got him here because Travis, you have been to marches. You've been to marches where there's been hardly anyone there. You've been to marches where the police have been incredibly violent, and yet you've stuck to your guns in those times. And now you're seeing the numbers that we're seeing now. Do you have a sense of faith in you about what's happening?
It's honestly, I've had many times of feeling like I've lost hope, I've lost faith. That we're never gonna rise, we're never gonna really wake up in a way and stand together and stand united. That was my biggest fear, and I think one of the protests at Botanical Gardens, that was the hardest for me because we tried and got infiltrated by police, and so we failed big time. But the faith was, I was on someone's live, and he told me, you can't lose faith. You can't give up now. After all that you've done, you can't lose. And we weren't big back then. We everyone had given up at that stage. And when he told me, don't give up now. You've got your daughter at home. And that's the hardest thing for me. And then when he said that, I'm like, you know what? You got a point. And I stood up and just jumped on the megaphone and said, look, the police think they had us, and they don't. We're gonna stand up and we're gonna fight today. And they were so disguised, but 100 people just started cheering, and I'm like, wow, where did they come from? 100 people were standing by, disguised, just in the crowd, and they all just ran over to me, and we started marching. We got absolutely brutally hit by the police. We had a woman hurt that day, and it was a very hard day. It was a loss to us, but that day kind of like made me go, I'm not giving up now. I want to protect our children. I want to protect our women mostly as well. Every single protest we do, that's my main focus, is make sure our children are safe. Whatever child's there, make sure they're in our sight, make sure they're safe. But most importantly, also make sure our women are safe. We've seen too many get hurt.
Can I just interrupt there, Damien? Sorry, Travis. Damien and I were at that march. We turned up for the gardens, and I have to say that we felt that we were both.
It was horrific.
You know, you really felt, what are we doing? Because the police were turning up
brutal
buses. They were coming. They had the armored car there in case. It was a very, very low day. Which now, though, you're seeing the difference with this march this weekend.
I'm honestly speechless. Yesterday, it got me emotional after I went home and I just like hugged my sister. I'm like, I did it. You know, like we did it. The people, we're finally all standing up. We're finally all fighting together, and that's what it's mostly about. You know, I couldn't believe it. Honestly, it didn't kick in until I went home.
And what do you think it is, Travis? What do you think it is that people are being attracted to the movement now? I mean, you've basically gone from a 25,000 a few weeks ago to a 25, 30,000. Then we had 80,000. Now we had like 400 and something thousand. We're quadrupling. Yeah. I mean, it's a revolution. You know. I'm honestly
confident we're hitting 1 million next week. I'm very confident we're going to hit 1 million next week.
Good dude. Mm-hmm. I tell people to come. But what do you think it is about? Because the most beautiful thing that happened on that day was I saw two people wearing masks watching us all pass, and I just said, take it off, and they did. Wow. And then they burst into smiles, and I thought, oh my God, just one at a time we're winning. And what we're winning there is that they want to be with us because we're having more fun, we're selling joy and hope and unity, and the government's selling the opposite, and people don't want it. It's not a good environment for the soul. So that's what I saw as things that really made me feel like, oh my God, we're on path.
That's why we marched down Burke Street. Honestly, when we hit Elizabeth Street is when most people watch us, and honestly, that's where our numbers do come. Like, apart from everyone showing up that are aware, the people that are standing by, the amount of people that join in and just start marching with us, that like takes my breath away. That's what makes me smile. Is we're waking people up. We're getting them to stand with us because we're not against them. And when people talk about far lefts and far rights, that's not what we're about. That's politician talk up in the Parliament building behind me. That's what they need to talk about, because we're not about that. We need to talk about unity. We need to talk about getting together and becoming one. That's what the people need to do.
It's great, isn't it? The protest, you'll see a Trump flag flying next to an Indigenous flag. I mean, it's such a disparate group of people. It's extraordinary.
Anti-fascists and calling us neo-Nazis and all that. Like, how are we neo-Nazis if we've got every single flag at the march? Like, I've got my family holding the Aboriginal flag. I've got other family members that aren't by blood holding Croatian flags, Albania flags. We've got all the flags. Like, it was truly amazing. A Welsh flag.
Well, it's funny. It feels like in some respects we've all been united in trauma, because there's so much trauma in that group. And like Michael was saying before, I had so many women around my age, and it's been men at other times. It just happened to be on the weekend, women coming up, engaging by holding my arm and just saying, thank you so much for being part of this show. Yeah. And if I held their gaze for too long, then the tears would just flood. You could feel the tears coming up from their soul, just flooding, just gently flooding over them, and then passing away again. And I identify with that experience because it just comes sometimes. I'll just be on the street and suddenly I'm overwhelmed with contact with my emotions. They're just so there. They're so ready. And I'll cry, and then it's gone again, and I'm okay again. I think, where's that come from? And it's come from this collective sense of trauma and an inability to be able to express yourself and talk about it. And that was a classic time when we were at the Botanic Gardens. We were just monstered by our police force. was extraordinary to me. I was lying on the floor of my car. My daughter rang me up because I had to pick her up in half an hour. And I said, look, love, I think I'm going to be a little bit late. And she just went, oh, that's cool, Dad. But I had to say to her, because I'm lying on the floor of my car because the police, I'm frightened of the police monstering me, breaking one of my bones. And now people are coming together. And it's an extraordinary experience. And people ask me, am I happy about the weekend? Such big numbers. And I go, words are inadequate because it's not a happiness that you feel. Was it fun on the weekend? Was it fun? There's something deeper, something more spiritual, like what
it was a rising, like the boys' song
before. Bradley was talking about. Yeah,
it was you guys clocked it with your words, guys. It was a rise. I just felt like the tide that had been pushed out by all this tyranny was coming back, and it was just going, nah, we don't want it, and the time, and they couldn't stop it. Can I just ask? I'm just muting you for a sec, Travis. Don't go away. Can I ask you, boys, when you got off the stage, what was the reaction? Were you getting people coming up to you and congratulating you, hugging you, or were you just can't get off?
Well, we both had our siblings there.
All right.
So they were both in tears, which was
really wow.
Yeah. I feel like for my sister at least, like she doesn't worry, but like she experiences the performance more viscerally or visually than I do. Like when I'm performing, like I'm just enjoying it in the moment. But my sister's saying, "Oh God, I hope it goes well." Like I'm not thinking that personally. Like I used to when I was younger, but now I'm like so used to performing that I can just sort of do it and enjoy it now. But yeah, I feel like my sister really goes through the emotions for me, and so when I'm performing, like I see her, she's in tears. I'm like, oh.
No, but I'm thinking after you'd finished the song, was the crowd aware as you were moving through the crowd? Were people coming up to you, congratulating you, strangers and stuff, or
yeah, probably. You know, we didn't. Even though there were, you know, close to 500,000 people, we obviously didn't reach all of them with the speaker system we had. I mean, but yeah, definitely at least a big chunk. The first 20,000 that were kind of around the perimeter of the stage. Yeah, they definitely knew who we were, and
when you go down to the Parliament steps, what are they like there with you?
Yeah, so when I'm carrying the keyboard case, they're like, "Oh, he's back."
Yeah,
and so that
one of the craziest things. So my godmother was in the crowd. She couldn't get to us because there were just so many people, and she was saying people were mouthing your words, not just the chorus. They know it, and I'm like, far out, really? Jeez, like. Yeah, it was incredible. We're getting such a positive response, and I'm actually surprised the lack of negative comments that we're getting from people. I think. I mean, we've kind of been friendly towards everybody throughout. You know, even just gigging and through life, through school. So I think people look at us and they're like, okay, these guys aren't extremists. I've known them my entire life. So some might unfollow, but I don't think they're sure enough to comment something because they look at someone that they've known, and that's how I think we're getting more people as well, because you're getting people that, you know, are known to be just decent human beings, and it's like, okay, well, if he's doing it, that means that it's a lie. They're not extremists. They still might be on the fence and unsure about everything, but not so unsure to actually go out and make a comment. There've been very few for me anyway.
Yeah, well, we're noticing much less trolls. We used to get tons of trolls. We're watching much less now. So I think people are coming across. I'm going to bring Travis in once again. Travis, can you give us any updates on this Saturday? Where are we going this Saturday? Where are we meeting or anything like that? Or is that
yeah, where we're going to fit 1 million people, Travis? Where the hell are 1 million people going to go, mate?
Yeah, look, 1 million people are just going to fit in the city. That's where it's going to be. No, we're still deciding on location. It'll be 12 o'clock as always. Time will not change. The flyer will be out very soon. I'm pretty sure the flyer's out. I just got to contact other organisers. I'm just
all right.
I've been flat out with my daughter, but I'm pretty aware the flyer's out. I will confirm that later, but as far as I do know, we will be occupying the Parliament every single day for the next 2 weeks until the bill is back up and running. So yeah, or I can advise right now before the flyer gets promoted, everyone jump down to Palm, and we've got plenty of people already turning up. It's 8:30. It's a bit of less people than we usually expect, but there's still about 60 to 80 people here already. So
Yeah, well, I was there today, Travis, and what I found beautiful was people are turning up with trays and trays of sandwiches, cartons of water. I mean, the public is basically feeding and supplying this little outpost of hope. It's terrific.
It's amazing. I've got right next to me everyone's belongings. We keep safe at all times. But we do have a table of food, water, drinks, anything that people need. And people just come by throughout the day. It's honestly amazing to see like big trays of like hot jam donuts or coffees or Slurpees. And it's really amazing. And people that don't do that, like we've had plenty of donations that go straight towards it all. So it leaves me speechless. Like, I can't believe it. I hate taking money myself. I tell people, please don't, like, please. But they insist. They honestly like demand me to take it, and that's what's beautiful about the community is everyone's getting together and everyone's being by each other. Yeah, no.
And Travis,
beautiful.
You'd be getting to know the police on a first name basis by now, wouldn't you? Some of the boys in blue there. What's that relationship like at the moment, and how's it been developing over the time? Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah. So yeah, I've started police liaising once we're out of lockdown, as they say. I have been police liaising every single week and getting to know commanders in charge, police liaise, and all of that. They've grown a relationship with me of me reassuring them no violence will happen as long as you let me run it the way I want to run it. I haven't asked them what they want me to do. I've told them what to, like, in a polite way and a mature way. Told them what we will be doing and reassuring no violence will happen. And honestly, I'm a man of my word. I say I can only do so much. The people, everyone's an individual at the end of the day, and I can only ask and request people to be peaceful. But what the people have done is stand behind me and support me and my word of what I tell the police, is saying there's no violence. I promise you, as long as I'm here, like, I'll make sure and try my absolute best that no violence will happen. Just please let me run it my way. And I've got an amazing relationship with them of I'll be with a commander in charge that doesn't even know me, and a police will run up and go, I know him, I've run with him last week, and trust me, everything that he does is like amazing, so I trust him. And like the commander in charge just automatically goes, all right, that's all I need. So
I saw the police having a box of Mars bars yesterday. They all sort of took their masks off, and they're all eating a Mars bar. I sort of really humanised them, and a bottle of water. They didn't offer me one, I noticed. But anyway,
today they were walking by without their masks, and people were smiling, going great face, and they're actually chatting. It was really lovely. I'm just going to.
This is a really dangerous situation. Sorry, Michael, can I just say one more thing to Travis? I just want to talk about, because in the Netherlands overnight there were some fatalities in the protest over there. So this is a seriously, potentially really volatile situation. Are you aware of that?
Yeah, I was aware of the fatalities and the riots that happened. If I'm pretty sure what happened, if that's what we're both talking about, riots did happen.
Yep.
It got very vicious. Look, people are angry all over the world, and I don't blame them. Honestly, I don't blame them. I've been around the violence with us, and it's purely just it's emotion. It's people are letting out emotion, and they're sick of being controlled by such a corrupt government and a so-called leader that we're meant to be looking up to. They're all turning on us all over the world, and it's not right. We need a leader that we can listen to and trust, that listen to the people. Because at the end of the day, we're the ones living every single day. We're the ones in the community and walking around for our safety, and we want to live our life free, and we want to live our life happy. We want our kids to grow up with an amazing future, and that's what it's.
That's what you're fighting for.
That's what we're fighting for. Yeah, my daughter actually attended yesterday, so
Stakes are very
for
high.
the first
Oh,
time.
did she?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Oh, I would have liked to have met her.
God, I didn't know you had to do it. How old's
Yeah,
your daughter, mate? How old is she?
my daughter's turning 1 next week, so yeah, so she'll be turning 1 on the 30th, so about a week and 2 days.
Oh, wow. Congratulations, mate. How exciting. Wow.
Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah,
What a time to bring a
she
child
said
into
that
the world.
was amazing.
I'm going to wrap up the show, even though I'd love to keep talking. We always go over, so I'm going to try wrap up the show now because I've got everyone saying here, play the song. So we're going to play the song.
Yes, please.
Bradley, Paul, Travis, a massive fan of yours. I'll see you. Somebody can see you tonight.
Real quick, Michael, just because my girlfriend came over with a whiteboard to show me. Apparently, my name is spelt wrong. So it's Kaspar.
That's right.
Is that right?
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's right.
She doesn't know. All right, cool.
There's a couple of names that caught me in the comments. I just say, oh, they've gone. There's a couple of names in the comments we had, boys. I don't know what you make of them. Maybe Dream in the Nightmare was one. Eye of the Storm or When Worlds Collide. There was a few others, but they were the three that sort of, well, they're the three I saw, basically.
I wasn't watching.
Round that off.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, we'll look through this tonight.
I'm hearing your response. I'm hearing your response pretty loudly and clearly there.
Tons and tons. That's only on Facebook, YouTube, and stuff like this. But here we're going to play the song. Now, this was put together by a guy called Barry, and he's just put, I think he took your song off YouTube, that demo you've got, and he's put images and thing across it. So this will give you, before the actual... the produced version comes out. This is a taste for now, and a huge respect to all three of you young guys. Huge respect, and to Joshua, and Abby, and all the others that have been working with you, Travis, and Jared, and Dada, and all the others.
Billy's in there too. Billy does a good job.
Yeah,
I got to give a shout out to others, Travis.
Billy's an amazing guy. He's here now. He waved before you wouldn't have saw it, but I do want to give a shout out to MFR as well. They're an absolutely amazing crew. It was their event yesterday, and they really wanted me to do what I do for VFM, and I can't thank them enough. For everything that they've done for me. They're amazing people. So any bad words with MFR, please take my word. They're amazing people.
Yeah, that's Harrison who's part of that, isn't it?
Harrison, yes.
Yeah, what a speech he gave. My God.
Yes.
Amazing. Yeah. Okay, anyway, so here we go. Now, the song is called Rise, correct, gentlemen?
Yep, that's right.
I was calling it Rise Up. I have to think, but it's actually called Rise. And here it is from yesterday at the Open with images across. And please, when you get the demo, get in contact so we can share it, and with a link of where people can buy it. And if people want to see you, I don't know if you're going to be at the next march. I've got a feeling you probably will be performing, but you will be sporadically at the Parliament in the evening, I take it.
Yep.
When do you think you'll be there again? Wednesday?
Probably Wednesday or Thursday, the latest. Yeah.
Wednesday or Thursday. Okay, so Wednesday and Thursday, find out. If you want to let us know, we'll put it up that you're there, and maybe be a huge concert to come and see you guys. So
Wednesday, right? We'll try Wednesday.
Well done. Have a great old time. And thank you so much, guys, for coming on. I really appreciate it. It's been lovely getting to know you.
Thank you so much.
Right, see you. Thank you so much for your time. Bye.
No worries. Here we go, guys.
We watch the world through mired eyes, fixed on the altars of hypocrisy. The blue church serves its holy wine with poison of this new theocracy. We've stood by, watch the free world die, and not this time we'll rise. We will rise, set the world on fire. for high. No, you won't take me. We will rise like David to Goliath, to scream freedom or die. No, you won't take me alive. We will rise. We watch you hide behind your lies. As overlord, you preach the quality. No, I can't stand it. Oh, your false commandments. I won't worship idols of autocracy. We stood by and let you bleed us dry. We won't compromise this time. We will rise, set the world on fire. Some souls are not for hire. No, you won't take me. We will rise like David to Goliath, to scream freedom or die. No, you won't take me alive. No, you're kind. You're like Goliath to David. Our stones will become your demise. And if I die, I'll die with pride. We will rise to set the world on fire. Some souls are not for hire. No, you won't take me. We will rise like David to Goliath, to scream freedom or die. No, you won't take me. You'll never break me. You won't take us alive. We will rise.